You've convinced yourself she's moved on, that you're just a fading memory, that whatever connection you had is now buried under indifference. But here's the reality. The human mind doesn't work that way. We don't just erase people who mattered to us. Memories linger. Emotions resurface. And whether she admits it or not, you cross her mind more often than she'd ever let on. Think about it. How many times have you been going about your day when suddenly, out of nowhere, a song comes on and boom, there she is? A place you used to go together, a joke only the two of you understood, even just the way someone else laughs. It triggers something. Now ask yourself if that happens to you. Why wouldn't it happen to her? You think you're the only one who feels the echoes of what you shared. No, that's not how psychology works. The mind replays what the heart hasn't resolved. And here's where most men get it wrong. They assume that because she isn't reaching out, she isn't thinking about them. But silence isn't the same as absence. In fact, silence is often the loudest indicator of unresolved emotion. When someone refuses to engage, it's not always because they don't care. It's because engaging would force them to confront something they're not ready to face. Maybe it's regret. Maybe it's curiosity. Maybe it's just the uncomfortable realization that you had a deeper impact on her than she wanted to admit. But let's go deeper. Why does this matter? Because right now, you're probably stuck in one of two destructive thought patterns. Either you're drowning in the belief that she's forgotten you, which paralyzes you with self-doubt, or you're obsessing over every little sign, overanalyzing every interaction, hoping for some proof that she still cares. Both of these mindsets are traps. The first makes you weak. The second makes you desperate. And neither will get you what you actually want. So here's the truth you need to anchor yourself to. Her thoughts about you are irrelevant unless you've given her something worth thinking about. If you're the same person you were when things fell apart, unchanged, unmotivated, still looking for validation from her, then of course she's not going to respect you. But if you've leveled up, if you've become someone stronger, more disciplined, more purposeful, then her thoughts about you shift from pity or indifference to intrigue. And that is where real power lies. This isn't about playing games. It's about understanding human nature. People are drawn to those who embody strength, not the loud, performative kind, but the quiet, unshakable kind. The kind that doesn't beg for attention, but commands it simply by existing. If you want her to think about you in a way that actually matters, then give her something substantial to think about. Not your words, not your promises, your evolution. So ask yourself, what lingers in her mind when she thinks of you? The ghost of what you were, or the shadow of what you're becoming? The answer will determine everything. Here's a hard truth you need to confront. Your weakness isn't just holding you back. It's actively pushing her away. And I don't say that to shame you. I say it because if you don't understand this dynamic, you'll keep making the same mistakes, wondering why nothing changes. So let's break it down. When I say weakness, I'm not talking about physical strength or some superficial measure of masculinity. I'm talking about the deeper, more corrosive forms of weakness. Neediness, indecision, emotional dependency, the inability to stand firm in your own purpose. These are the things that erode attraction, not just in romance, but in every meaningful relationship in your life. Think about it. What happens when you center your sense of worth on her attention? When every text she doesn't send feels like a verdict on your value? When you're so fixated on winning her back that you lose sight of everything else? You become predictable. You become small. And worst of all, you become uninteresting. Because nothing kills desire faster than the sense that someone has handed you the keys to their self-esteem. It's too much power, and paradoxically, it makes you powerless. Now, let's look at this from her perspective. If she's watching you crumble, if she sees you orbiting her life like a satellite with no mission of your own, what does that communicate? It tells her you don't respect yourself. So why should she? It tells her you have nothing more important going on than her approval. So where's the challenge, the intrigue, the incentive to invest? Attraction isn't just about feeling wanted. It's about feeling like the person you're with is someone you can admire. And admiration doesn't grow in the soil of desperation. But here's where most men get trapped in a vicious cycle. The more she pulls away, the harder they chase. The colder she acts, the more they try to prove their devotion. And in doing so, they amplify the very behavior that pushed her away in the first place. It's like trying to put out a fire by pouring gasoline on it. You think you're fighting for her, but what you're really doing is confirming every unspoken doubt she has about you. So what's the alternative? It's not playing games. It's not pretending you don't care. It's something far more radical. Developing the kind of strength that doesn't require her validation to exist. That means building a life so compelling that her presence in it is a choice, not a lifeline. It means cultivating the discipline to walk away from what diminishes you and the courage to pursue what truly matters. It means understanding that the most attractive thing you can offer isn't your attention. It's your autonomy. This isn't just about winning her back. It's about reclaiming the parts of yourself you've sacrificed on the altar of her opinion. Because the irony is this: the less you need her, the more she'll question whether she needs you. Not because people are cruel or manipulative, but because we're wired to want what reflects our own aspirations. If you embody strength, she'll either rise to meet it or reveal herself as someone incapable of matching your depth. Either way, you win. So ask yourself, what version of you is she seeing right now? The one who falls apart without her, or the one who forces her to reckon with what she walked away from? The choice is yours, but choose wisely. The cost of weakness is always higher than the price of strength. Consider this carefully. She doesn't want the version of you that lost her. She's waiting to see if you're capable of becoming someone worth choosing again. This isn't about games or manipulation. It's about the fundamental reality of human attraction. We are drawn to those who represent growth, competence, and the capacity to handle life's challenges with dignity. The man she walked away from was, by definition, insufficient in some critical way. Maybe you were complacent. Maybe you lacked direction. Maybe you surrendered your boundaries too easily. Whatever the reason, that version of you failed to hold her attention. And here's what you must understand. Nostalgia alone won't bring her back. Only evolution will. Let's examine why this is so psychologically potent. When a woman invests time and emotion into a relationship, she's not just investing in who you are. She's investing in who you could become. That potential is part of what makes attraction sustainable. But when potential stagnates, when she realizes the man in front of her is the same man he's always been, with no new layers, no new strengths, no new reasons to respect him, that's when disillusionment sets in. And once it does, no amount of pleading or promises will reverse it. Words are cheap. Transformation is undeniable. Now, here's where most men make their fatal error. They assume that grand gestures or dramatic declarations will bridge the gap. If I just show her how much I love her, she'll remember what we had. But love isn't the issue. Respect is. Attraction isn't reignited by reminding someone of the past. It's sparked by demonstrating a future that's worth her attention. Think of it this way. If she looks at you 6 months from now and sees the same habits, the same limitations, the same unresolved weaknesses, what reason does she have to believe anything would be different this time? None. And that's exactly why she won't come back. But if she sees you rebuilding yourself, if she notices, even from a distance, that you've tightened your discipline, expanded your ambitions, developed a quiet confidence that doesn't depend on her approval, then something shifts. Now, she's faced with a question she can't easily dismiss. Did I underestimate him? That question alone is more powerful than 1,000 apologies, because it forces her to reconcile the man she left with the man you're proving yourself to be. And if that man is someone she admires, the pull she feels won't be about nostalgia. It'll be about curiosity. And curiosity is the beginning of every meaningful reconnection. This isn't hypothetical. It's how people work. We gravitate toward those who reflect our aspirations back to us. If you want her to look at you differently, you must first give her something different to see. Not a performance, not an act. A genuine, measurable upgrade in your character and competence. That means addressing the weaknesses that eroded her trust. It means developing the emotional resilience to handle rejection without crumbling. It means building a life so compelling that her presence in it would be a privilege, not a given. And here's the most liberating part. This process isn't about her. It's about you. Because even if she never comes back, you've still won. You've reclaimed your agency. You've broken the cycle of dependency. You've become someone who doesn't need validation to know his own worth. And that kind of man doesn't just attract former lovers. He attracts opportunities, respect, and a future that isn't dictated by the past. So ask yourself, if she were to walk into your life tomorrow, what would she find? The man who lost her, or the man who makes her wonder why she ever left? The difference between those two versions of you is the only thing that ever mattered. Here's the brutal reality you need to face: time isn't neutral. It's either working for you or against you. And right now, every moment you spend paralyzed in indecision is compounding her certainty that leaving was the right choice. Let's dissect why this is so critical. Human psychology has a fundamental bias toward confirmation. Once we make a decision, especially an emotionally charged one, we unconsciously seek evidence to justify it. If she walked away, every day you spend stuck in the same patterns, radiating the same energy, behaving with the same limitations, only reinforces her belief that she made the correct call. But here's what most men fail to grasp. This same psychological mechanism can work in your favor if you have the courage to flip the script. Consider this. What if, instead of giving her continuous proof that she was right to leave, you started generating undeniable evidence that she might have been wrong? Not through words or pleas, but through the seismic shift in how you carry yourself, how you engage with the world, how you refuse to be defined by rejection. That's when doubt creeps in. That's when the mind begins to question. Because nothing disrupts confirmation bias like incontrovertible contradiction to its narrative. But you don't have forever to make this pivot. There's a window, a psychological point of no return, where her memory of you transitions from something fluid and potentially re-evaluated to something fixed and filed away. The longer you remain stagnant, the more solidified her perception becomes. And this isn't just about romance. It's a universal law of human relationships. People will treat you exactly how you teach them to treat you through your actions. If you act like someone who's been defeated, you'll be treated accordingly. If you carry yourself like someone who's on an upward trajectory, the world, including her, will adjust its posture toward you. Now, let's talk about urgency versus desperation, because this is where men fatally confuse the two. Urgency is the fire of purposeful action. It's the understanding that time is your most precious commodity, and wasting it is a form of self-betrayal. Desperation is its shadow, frantic energy with no direction, rooted in fear rather than vision. What you need isn't to rush to fix things with her, but to race to rebuild yourself with such intensity that the very ground between you shifts. Here's the strategic truth: transformation isn't linear, but perception often is. The first week you start changing, she might not notice. The first month, maybe skepticism. But by the third month of consistent, undeniable growth, that's when cognitive dissonance sets in. That's when "he'll never change" collides with "onless, he actually did." And that moment, where her certainty fractures, is where all possibilities live. But you have to earn that moment before time solidifies her story about you into something unchangeable. So what does decisive action actually look like? It means waking up tomorrow and making one irrevocable choice that your past self wouldn't have made. Then doing it again the next day, and the next. It's not about grand gestures. It's about the compound interest of small, daily victories that reshape who you are at your core. Every morning you train your body when you'd rather stay in bed. Every evening you study when you'd rather numb out. Every interaction where you choose presence over neediness. These are the bricks that rebuild your foundation. But here's the critical insight. This isn't a covert operation to win her back. That's the paradox. The moment your growth becomes about her reaction, you've already failed. Authentic change only sticks when it's for you. When you're no longer willing to tolerate your own mediocrity, when your self-respect becomes non-negotiable. And when you hit that point, something remarkable happens. You stop caring about the timeline because you're too engaged in the process of becoming. Yet make no mistake, while the work is for you, the impact is undeniable.